In January of 1915, word came to Point Betsie and all the other life-saving stations in America that the official name of their agency was thereafter the United States Coast Guard. Keeper Edwin Bedford, whose relatives still reside in Frankfort. Do we have any of those relatives here tonight? Any Bedfords? Don't see any. Anyway, henceforth, they were to be known as Coast Guard officers, leading their stations and their crews under new Coast Guard terms. Old buildings were torn down, new buildings replaced them. One of them sits just yonder. If you know that big life-saving dorm that sits back, used to sit on the beach here. Well, times changed. Power motors replaced the oar-powered surf boats, and reduced crews labored on to maintain the old station's mission in a brand new world. Think of what was happening pre-World War II. In 1937, the Point Betsie Search and Rescue Facility was shut down.
But it was less than 2 years later that the Coast Guard's presence at Point Betsie was effectively restored by a presidential order. Anticipating World War II, Franklin Roosevelt placed all lighthouse personnel under the Coast Guard. Thereafter, the Coast Guard personnel operated Point Betsie's light nightly until its automation in 1983. And to this day, the agency retains charge of the beacon atop this historic tower. Once a year, a crew comes up from Grand Haven to change the light bulbs and give the light a checkup to keep it shining for another year. Now, in its 218th year, the U.S. Coast Guard is responsible for many diverse missions, including maritime homeland security, national defense, enforcing maritime law, aiding mariners in distress, maintaining maritime navigation aids, protecting the marine environment, licensing merchant mariners, and ensuring merchant vessel safety.
Did you know that during an average day, the men and women of the Coast Guard will save 15 lives, assist 117 people in distress, conduct 90 search and rescue cases, protect 2.8 million in property, enforce 129 security zones, interdict and rescue 15 illegal migrants at sea.
They will also board 4 high-interest vessels. We want to know what high interest means. They will also board 192 vessels of a law enforcement issue. Board 122 large vessels for port safety checks. In an average day, they will seize 71 pounds of marijuana and 662 pounds of cocaine with a street value of $21.1 million. They will conduct 317 vessel safety checks in an average day and teach 63 boating safety courses, as well as conduct 19 commercial fishing vessel safety exams. That's not all.
They will respond to 11 oil and hazardous chemical spills, process 280 mariner licenses and documents, service 140 aids to navigation, monitor the transit of 2,557 commercial ships through U.S. ports, investigate 20 vessel casualties involving collisions and groundings.
Whether it's saving lives, supporting the global war on terrorism, preserving our maritime environment, yes, and its resources, protecting our vital waters for trade and commerce, Coast Guardsmen and women perform their duties every day with relentless courage, commitment, and ingenuity.
Happy birthday to the United States Coast Guard, and thank you for all that you do for us.
Well, this is probably a good time as any to ask my board to stand up, because the next part of this program, just a paragraph here, is about the board members. Can we have my Friends of Point Betsie board members stand up and be recognized? Here we go. Kathy Fishburne is a co-chair and runs the gift shop as well as the database. We've got Bonnie Warren over here, who is a just absolute go for all, do anything we tell her to do kind of person. There's Kath Kelder, who is second in command in the history department and does a darn good job of all the displays within lighthouse, so when you go in the lighthouse and you see what displays are done so far, that's thanks to Cap. Let's see, there's Eileen Kennard in the green. She's our treasurer. What we would have to pay somebody to do what she does with the numbers, I don't even want to think about. John Hawley over here towards the entrance, our chief historian. We can't thank him enough. He's just written a book. He's given us the proceeds. He's started the archive along with Kath Kelder. We're going to get this history all bundled up into a nice package here. We thank John. Way back there, there's Jim Radebach. I mentioned Jim and his wife. Is Pam around? Pam used to be our treasurer, and she's a go-getter as well. Jim is our secretary and head of fundraising. So just in case you're going to write us into your will, that's the man to see. I want you to point him out there. There he is. All right. And where's Warren? Warren, my love, where are you? Warren, he escaped us for the time being. Warren Call. Now, have I forgotten anybody? Warren Call is going to help with our fundraising as well. I'm just going to point him out. All right. Where's Roger? Is he parking cars? Roger is another one of those that we couldn't live without. He's our buildings and grounds supervisor, and he is out here doing everything from washing windows to mowing the grass to repairing all sorts of good things. Roger, what we would have to pay you, where is he? I just can't see him. I don't know. Well, anyway, Roger Dewey. This comes to our part. I just want to recognize what the Friends of Point Betsie have done. The Coast Guard moved out of Point Betsie, you know, as late as the winter of 1997. Some of you may not know that. In a joint venture, Benzie County and the Friends of Point Betsie Lighthouse made their move on this empty building a few years later. Ownership was transferred from the federal government in June of 2004. By July of 2006, the complete restoration and reconstruction of the exteriors was completed, the lighthouse and some storage buildings. 2 years after that, this year, the exterior and the interior of the fog signal building was completed. To date, we're estimating about We're estimating $1.5 million have been raised and spent to bring this historic icon, this seat of much emotional pull, back into our community. One person who is One person that I really want to recognize has taken the proceeds, what you have given to us out of the pockets, your generous pockets, has been Chuck Clark. Can you rate? He has turned those donations, used them as leverage, and written all our grants to get that $1.5 million. Thank you, Chuck. Through the changes in leadership and the facilities out here, through wars and through storms and slight course corrections and missions, Point Betsie has served us faithfully for 1.5 centuries.